Hello, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Josie Smizer, and like the young women on this call, I'm interested in pursuing a career in STEM. Most of you participated in a survey I conducted about engineering. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and ideas. The questions in this interview are based off of those survey results and questions girls shared with me during personal interviews. I'm a member of Girl Scout Troop 70444, and this Zoom call is part of my Gold Award project. My goal is to understand what girls are curious about and help them find answers and make connections that will inspire and encourage them to pursue a career in STEM. Today we are talking with Jessica Yehl. She's a process engineer with a Bachelor's of Mechanical Engineering from Cleveland State University and Associates of Science from Lakeland Community College. She graduated in 2019 and worked as an engineer for a pigment manufacturer, but recently moved into extrusion for medical tubing. Thank you for joining us today, Jessica.
Well, thank you so much for the introduction, Josie. I am so thrilled. I was in a Girl Scout myself, so I'm very excited to be helping you with that. And please take the floor, ask whatever questions, and I'll try to be as open and transparent as I can.
Thank you. I can start off with the first question. Do you have any tips on how to network in college?
That is an excellent question. So just to maybe start the groundwork, you couldn't have asked a better one. Networking in college is the most important thing that you can do for your career outside of showing up to classes. Networking, I think, gives you the opportunity to really understand engineering and what you like and dislike about it and making those connections, because nobody does anything by themselves. You know, there is tons of support out there, and there is a ton of support with your classmates as well as, you know, your professors and outside companies that you might work with. So I think it really breaks down into those three parts. So networking with your classmates, you know, your classmates can and will be your colleagues. They will be the engineers you work with. So reaching out to them to form study groups and, you know, making sure that you're active in group presentations and projects is a really good way to bring like that network. And I mean, it's a great way to make friends too. So I would say make sure that when you have the opportunity to work with your classmates, whether that's on group projects or just, you know, study groups in general, take that. And taking the initiative to form those two kind of sets you apart as like the leader, which people start gravitating towards. So I really recommend doing that. With teachers, they have office hours. Utilize them. They want to be there. They love to work with students who show initiative. And I mean, that's always hard with office hours, trying to find the time. I know you guys are high school students, but like with college, it's a little bit more flexible and it's really nice. So ask questions, stay engaged. They want to help you. Let them. That's why they're there. And then as far as companies go, there are career fairs. There are usually school projects. So anything that you can do, especially as far as internships go, I'll start that right off the bat, is that internships are the most valuable tool that I had in my engineering degree, I guess. It was the way to get that real world experience. And I did get a couple internships through those career fairs. So I really recommend those also.
Could you tell us more about your internships that you had?
Sure. So I had 3 internships during school. So my first internship, I had a family member who worked at this company and he encouraged me to apply. I was the only one to apply, so I got it. So gotta say that helped. But that was my first internship and it was a lot of hands-on work. I worked in manufacturing. So when you look at engineering, there's really 3 different avenues that you can go is process improvements, project management, and like research and development. So a lot of process and projects are industry, so manufacturing and the likes, versus research and development's usually in a lab. So just be aware of kind of where the direction of your career would go. I decided manufacturing because I love working with people. I love working with my hands. I like being on the floor and trying to be the best improvement I can have, or be, I guess. So my first internship was, all the labor intensive sorting files, working out in the maintenance shop, sorting tools. So really getting that hands-on experience trying to learn. And then as far as my other internships, I worked at a place that was electrochemistry. So it was basically, we made the equipment that makes bleach. So it's really cool. It basically is, you take some chemicals and then you shoot electricity through it, and then it bonds the chemicals so it makes bleach. So it was really fun. And so I worked with the environmental health and safety. So just working out on the floor, making sure that everything was up to code. I take a lot of direction from my boss. I mean, at that point in your career, you're not supposed to know everything. And I think when we go into internships, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to, everybody's expecting something of you, but everyone understands that you're learning. So as long as you show the initiative, people really take that. And then the other one was at a flooring. They made like tile. And so that one was interesting, and it was just a learning curve as far as, the politics of just general day-to-day manufacturing. So I worked a lot more in the office and a lot of more breakdown of processes. So that's where I went to the process aspect.
I have a question, if you don't mind. Sorry.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to ask, like, if you always knew engineering was for you, if you ever wavered on your major or your career.
Oh, that is a great question. Absolutely. I actually went into school a little bit undecided. I was somebody who, I feel like that's one of those things, is that you don't really know what engineering is until you're an engineer. And nobody ever really explains it to you, because engineering is such a broad term. I mean, there is so much you can do with engineering. So what I knew was I liked science. I knew I wanted to go into a field that was technical. I knew I enjoyed that aspect. And so originally where I had thought my career would go was like teaching. I feel like when you're a student, teachers, you know that you enjoy the subjects that you are, and you want to, put that on. So my professor had said, because I had asked his advice, he was my physics professor in high school, and he actually taught at Lakeland as well. So I asked him what his input was, and he had said that he recommends going into industry, and if you like that, come back to teaching. He's like, teaching is always an option, and when you actually are out in the real world learning this stuff, bringing that knowledge and bringing that to students is really, really valuable. So I said, okay. And I had debated between a couple different engineering majors, whether I'd go into computers or electrical. And I decided mechanical because I felt it was the most versatile. I felt, if I wanted to go into civil engineering, I could. If I wanted to get a master's in electrical, I could. But I thought it gave me a good foundation. If I would do it again, I probably would either stay with mechanical or I would go electrical, just because I'm not a chemistry person. I don't thrive there. But I would say, if you like to work with your hands, or you like math and being a little bit creative in your day-to-day, that's kind of where engineering drifted versus a more strict science like computer programming or anything of the sort. So yeah, that was a great question.
That was so interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It sounds like you enjoyed school a lot. Um, I've been hearing like if you hate school, like you'll really like it in the field. Um, you,
That is not an inaccurate statement. Yes, I would absolutely say that my actual engineering and my school career are very, very different. I like school. I love learning. I really do. There's something about college versus high school. I mean, when you're in college, you are there with people who are paying to be there in classes that, they're paying to be. So anyone who shows up really usually cares about the subject. Um, so it's really nice and it's different. And you can tell the teachers are a lot more passionate. So that's a very good aspect of um, college versus high school. As far as college and the real world go, they're very different. College is a lot more structured, it's a lot more technical. And what I didn't really realize when I was in school was you are learning how to do any job under the umbrella of engineering. But when you get to a job, you're trying to learn how to do that job. So there's a lot of aspects of school that aren't going to be relevant in your day to day. I very rarely have to pull out a equation that's, 6 pages long. I don't usually do a lot of that technical math only because it's not really relevant. There are times where you need to have that foundation, which is what I think school prepares you for. Is somebody told me, it says you're supposed to learn that math and understand it, not so that you can just take it and bring it out to the field, but so when you need it, it's much easier to learn it the second time. So a lot of the math isn't, if that is something that intimidates you, I cannot, you know, impress upon you guys enough that it's not that intimidating when you actually need it. Now, that could be different for a different job. I would say that if you love math, you love that structured calculation, going into research and development is the path for you. They use a lot of it. I do have some friends who, one who works with NASA. I have a friend who works for Lubrizol, and I know they do a lot more calculations on the day to day. But as far as actual technical experience for my job, it's mostly isolating a problem on the line and figuring out what equipment to purchase, how to improve our processes, and that. So yes, if you hate school, I can assure you, you'll love engineering.
I love that. Like, just learn it so then the second time you need it, it'll be a lot easier. So you've had so many different job opportunities. Is there a lot of like desk work, or do you find like yourself being more physical with like the work of being an engineer?
I would say that personally in my job, I do probably about a 50-50. Now, again, that can change based off of what certain jobs I've had to be stuck more in the office, other jobs I've been stuck more in the field. There's been days where it's I don't leave my desk, and then there's days where I don't leave the plant floor. So I get a nice variety of it, which is what I love about my job. It's nothing's the same every day. I would say that you have the opportunity in your position once you figure out what you like to really gear your career towards that aspect, because there are some engineers I know who like the desk work. They like to sit down and pull up spreadsheets, manipulate the data, try to figure out trends, and rarely, if ever, step out on a plant floor. And that's fine. That's necessary. If you do not have good documentation, I promise you your life is going to be a million times worse. Having traceability and knowing how Excel works is essential to being a successful engineer. And then I have other engineers who would, rather die than get stuck in an office all day, which I respect. And so they're really hands-on. They are sitting on the floor, adjusting equipment, running tests, and sometimes even just running the equipment just to make sure it's as optimal as it could be. So really, I have the benefit of being able to do a little bit of both, which I really, really enjoy. But if you find yourself after trying it out, seeing that you like it in one way or the other, you absolutely have the opportunity to choose a career. They're always looking for different aspects.
Thank you for sharing that. Does anyone have any responses or questions to follow up with that?
I do have a question. Oh, Monica, go first. I already had a question. You go first.
Well, it was kind of like in a different sort of topic, but so you talked about internships. I was just wondering, what was like the process from undergraduate to any sort of certifications you had to get to be where you're at today?
Oh, that's a great question. That's also very nice about engineering is that if you have a good company, what they want to do is they want to train you to they treat you like an investment, as you should be. They're investing every job that hires you is spending a lot of money trying to get you there. And that's not just because an engineer makes money. It's because there's a lot of time that HR has to go into searching for candidates, bringing you on, hiring, offering you the position, and having you accept it. So as an intern, it's not as critical to worry about like the health insurance and all those benefits. But once you're hired, they really do want to make sure that you are going to stay and that you are going to provide as much to the company. So there are some online trainings I did that were in-person training that my company sent me for. I did some Six Sigma, which is something I would encourage you to go look up. It's a little bit intimidating, but once you do the training, it's pretty straightforward. It's basically how you approach projects. And I also did some like technical training with like basically like PLCs programming, which are just, fancy computers. So I really just went up to my boss and said, hey, I think I could benefit the company if I knew these skills. Will you send me to training? And he said, absolutely. We have a budget for that. Go ahead. So that was really, really nice. And the other trainings were just provided by my company. But I would say what you want to do if you, in an internship, it might not be as easy to do, but once you have that full-time job, asking for additional training, companies want to do that for you. So don't hesitate to either ask your professors what training that they think is beneficial, and segueing your way into that can just give you a good foundation. But I would say that if there's one you're looking at, Lean Six Sigma, every employer wants.
And then I wanted to ask if you feel overwhelmed at any point in your job with, I guess, switching it up all the time. I know you said that's what you love about it, but do you ever feel overwhelmed with having to come up with a new solution, or I guess just needing a break ever? I don't know. Like, how do you manage the stress of a job, I guess?
Yeah, no, I think that is an absolutely reasonable question. I mean, it gets hard. I mean, you do not want to feel like you're shouldering the burdens of the company and that if you don't come up with something, you're not going to be good enough. I mean, I think we all have those internal doubts of, if you Google imposter syndrome, that's kind of a real thing. But I do, and there was times at my last job, so I had some pretty big budgets. I mean, we're talking, $100,000+ projects that you had to implement. And that's a lot of pressure to put on one person. But that's the great thing is that I'm not one person. I'm part of a company. And when you think of it from a team mindset, if we all succeed, or if I succeed, we all succeed. So everybody in there is on my side. Nobody is sitting there trying to fight me. No one's going to put the blame. Any times I had questions where I wasn't sure of something, I have my boss to fall back on. I have the maintenance manager to talk to. I have the guys on the floor who actually do the job to give me insight. So there's a lot of benefits as far as having that communication and discussion that really kind of takes the burden off because people are aware of your problems. We're human. We're not machines. We have limitations. I love going out on the floor and taking a piece of equipment and trying to optimize it. I love Excel more than I love most people. So it's like I love learning that, but I'm not a good programmer. So if I know that this is going to be a problem that I don't have expertise, it's my responsibility to let my boss know that, and his responsibility to help me find somebody to get to that point. You do not have to take this burden on by yourself. So that's a big thing as far as overwhelming, and just being upfront. If there's a time where you don't think that you're going to meet a deadline, as long as you are trying, you're making realistic goals, reaching out. To the amount of times I pushed back something just because I didn't have enough time because I'm overwhelmed with a bunch of other projects. I'm not, running in my office, my boss's office crying, saying I can't do this, but I'll sit down with them, schedule a meeting and say, hey, these are the projects that I have. This is how I am trying to prioritize it. Because of all these priorities, I don't think I will get to this by the extended deadline. Can we exchange it or push it back? Or is there some assistance that I could, borrow from maybe another engineer to help me get through this? And he wants to help me. So we'll sit down, we'll come up with realistic timelines and try to get whatever assistance I need. So that's the one advice I would say, is that don't beat yourself up. Don't take every project in as your own. If you need help, people want to help you. And especially when you're young in your career. So yeah, so that would be it.
That's great advice. So I think we're going to be ending the call kind of shortly, but I have a question about what keeps you motivated, whether you were in school or in the workforce.
I think the polite professional way is to say, I really am motivated by, wanting to help people. I think that there's something really unique and wonderful about being an engineer, in which when I go out there and I had a project where an operator was having to move a 400-pound drum by hand, literally having to wedge it up there. And I don't want to see a 50-year-old man having to throw out his back because he's got to move this drum that we need moved. So being able to talk, come up with a solution, we ended up being able to install a piece of equipment in this really tight space, which is why they had to move it by hand, to move this product, without getting into too many details. And there was just something so wonderful and amazing about, knowing that I'm physically helping another person do this versus him having to do this by himself. So there's a lot of fulfillment in trying to make the operators' lives easier from just a production standpoint. And one piece of advice I will give you that my boss gave me that I absolutely love was, you can know a drawing from the, you can know every aspect of it. You can know the length, size, its capabilities, its speed, whatever. You can know everything about it. But the operator is going to be the one to tell you that the left side sticks a little unless you wiggle it. He knows that equipment better than you do because he runs it every day. So these operators want you to help them. They want you to come up with the solutions that are going to make their lives easier, because at the end of the day, they're the ones running it. So the motivation I feel is working with people out on the floor and trying to make their lives easier and having that little interaction. So that's nice. So I would say that's the political professional answer. The fun answer is money. I mean, everybody wants to get paid. I'm a big fan of health insurance, so I would say that's also a good motivator. But there's a little bit of both.
I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay. You've done a great job answering all of our questions. Do you have any final advice for us or wisdom?
I think I nailed really what I wanted to talk about. So I guess just to reiterate the points, is, internships are going to be the best benefit for you. If you can show employers that you have hands-on real world experience, every single internship after my first one was relatively easy to get because they saw that I had experience. So getting your foot in the door is essential. So whatever you can get, take it and run with it. Show up to class. You don't have to like it. You don't even have to pay attention. But if you're there, you're going to write stuff down. You're going to get a little bit more than just avoiding it, sitting at home, trying to play catch up. So just showing up to class is really important. Networking, enjoying your college career. I mean, I understand engineering is a very overwhelming career, class load. There's a lot, but like, don't forget to put time for yourself too. That's really important for your mental health. And it's really nice to just have those memories to look back on. Another thing too is, address the elephant in the room. We're all young women. You guys are going into career. There's always this looming dread of sexism that goes in. I have to say, not that I'd never experienced it, but it wasn't this overwhelming beast that was there. All the operators I work with are wonderful. It's like working with a bunch of dads or working with a bunch of uncles. So they're fun. They want to help you. I very rarely have to deal with anybody terrible. And that's also the wonderful thing about working is there's HR. So if there is a problem, there is somebody that they pay to address that. So don't be scared. Thankfully, I've never had to experience that. The worst was in school. Some of my classmates, but at the end of the day, we're getting the same degree. There's nothing about it. And there's also your professors you can talk to. So don't be so intimidated because the real world is not as unfortunate as it may seem. So just to give you that. And I would say, as far as finding careers, just don't be afraid to apply for things that you might not think you're totally qualified for. A good attitude will get you very far. If they see that you're easy to work with, enthusiastic about what you do, companies do value that. And a lot of the experience is on a job by job basis. You're going to come in with a lot of broad knowledge and they're going to want to train you specifically for theirs. So please don't just be too intimidated by that. And when you do get into your career, negotiating, that is a huge skill as far as getting your job. I don't want to overwhelm you, but there is absolutely a benefit into asking for more. Whether more vacation time, money, whatever, you will at that point in your career have that ability. Maybe not the first time, but you'll have some flexibility. So don't short yourself. Learn those negotiating skills. And that could be something as simple as career. Trying to think about what it was at Lakeland. They had like a career center or something similar. So talking to them about negotiating skills, those soft skills, those financial skills, really, really important. So yeah, I would say those are just probably the big heavy hitters, I would say. And Josie, I don't know if you provided my email, but the rest of you, if you would like to email me, if you have any other follow-up questions. I know how scared and intimidated I was going into school. And I know there's just those stupid questions where you don't even know who to ask or, how to phrase it. But I'm more than happy to help you guys and provide maybe a little bit more insight in case you guys think of something either just later on in your journey in a couple years or shortly after this call. Then my email is always available and I'd be happy to help.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you guys for joining our call as well.